Okay, what's going on? Good evening. Good evening. I want to go over the setups that we took today. Today being Thursday, August the 13th, 2026. I'm going to go over what I brought up in the Discord and the pre-market outlook, and then we'll jump back and forth between those two things. Okay. And so let me go ahead and do this. And I need to update the couple things on there. Now, looking at this, the pre-market, I'm going to bring that up here just really quickly. Give me 1 second. Okay, so pre-market outlook, this was going to be for Thursday. Okay, so let's go back to this. So looking at the pre-market outlook, what I was looking for was DXY to possibly reach above 100, right? So looking at the dollar index, the intraday time frame is starting to show signs of weakness around that $100 level. I was initially looking for the daily structure around 99.70 to hold as demand and potentially push DXY. However, if the dollar is truly turning bearish, I want to see confirmation. Okay. And so what I mean by that, when you go back and you look at these price level, what I was talking about, this is the $100, right here area, right? Or 100, the price level of 100, excuse me. So price level of 100, and then like I was saying here for the Wednesday open, right? I was wanting to see price pretty much respect inside this candle here, going to be the seventh candle, hey, the down candle, okay? And so we're looking at our bias to continue for the bullish trend here on the weekly through the 102s. Not like actually this week, but we were looking to see if we were going to hold like this area here at 99.50 and then rise back to 150 and possibly back to 101. And so that was kind of the idea. Now, if you go back and look at the pre-market, I talked about, you know, the bearish scenario is sink back below market open. So that'd be back below the 99.58, right? So that would be price basically, sinking back below here and going below key level. That's if we were bearish on dollar, if like we got some kind of news or anything like that. And then continued weakness below those levels would support the idea that sellers are taking control. If 99.70 or 99.50 holds, we still have to respect the possibility of dollar finding demand and pushing back higher. Okay, and that's like above 100. Okay, now the thing I'm talking about here when it comes to oil higher time frame for from a higher time frame perspective, oil looks like it could continue to rolling over. Downside areas I'm looking for is $80 a barrel or 77.50. Okay, so going back now to look at this from more of an intraday perspective. Okay, so we'll go back over here. Okay, looked at we said if we're looking for downside, we're looking for $80 a barrel. Okay, so $80 a barrel right here is our key level. As you can see, price opened in the overnight. This would have been the equities open was right in here, right? So around right 8 a.m. And they had already taken this low and come down right at equities open and delivered the FEG imbalance, right, of $80 a barrel. So that part of the bias was definitely clicking, right? And I was wanting to see if shorts are going to cover inside that FEG and see a push back off of that area. So I'm looking here at the right. And then when you go to NQ futures, what I put here was we had upside targets of um, upside targets of 30,000 and 30,100 if we were to really explode. Now, I'll explain the positions that we actually took. The market is going to open, so you might see some price move here in just a second. But when it comes to NQ futures, I like to see another move higher today on the NQ H4 structure. NQ is still holding bullish structure, and we have clear liquidity sitting above current price upside targets. Like I said, 30,000 whole level and 30,001. Key levels of the day were 20,850, which were the market open, daily open, immediate resistance was like pretty much like that 29.9 30,000 area, right? Previous to high liquidity, H4 liquidity, etc. Right? So the bullish scenario, if we continue, I'd like to see through our holding of the 820s, right, and the 850s. So basically, I'm talking about when you're looking at levels like for today, New York Open was here, so the 820s would have been more down in here. Like they held those pre-equities open and they held market and the half level, and then they started to, basically create a bullish continuation right at the equities open. And so we ended up getting that, and then I'll explain the sell position because I did not find a buy on the way up, and I'll explain that as well. But the bearish scenario, if price fails to get above 29.9 and starts losing daily and open and slash market open, don't force the bullish idea. That could open the door for price to rotate back down to 29.7. Okay. And so we had already drawn on that liquidity. I'll show that here really quickly as well. We had already drawn on that liquidity here if you're looking on the right screen, because the left's a little cluttered here. I just have it up. But when you're looking on this right screen, we had already drawn on that previous day and put more liquidity above the 30,000 level, but we had shown signs that we wanted to go higher. Okay, and so the data lows were still available at 29,750s. They never came for those yesterday, and then they held the structure in the overnight pretty good. Okay, and so game plan. Okay, game plan on this was we have levels now. The price and time structures will tell us the scenario is actually being delivered. Don't chase 30,000 or 30,001 targets just because they're visible. Let's let price confirm and like basically our criteria play out. Okay, and so um, that's what we were looking for, right? So I'll go into the smaller time frames here and break down what we ended up seeing at the equities open. Now we did just get a new daily open here. Okay, so I will kind of go through this fairly quickly, but I will break it down pretty good. Okay, so very first 15 and first 5 minute candle. Obviously, as you guys can see here, if you just go back here on the 15 and do like replay mode of the first 15 minutes, it's very clear that we in one candle, okay, of that equities open, in one candle, we're able to run over 150 plus points and take out previous day high. So in this situation, now I know as I'm looking at the chart, okay, I know as we're doing that in the first 15 minutes, that I'm going to be looking for buyers to be taking profit above old highs. I need to be looking left to get right. So I'm understanding like as soon as we break, okay, like I'm looking at this high here, as soon as we break this high in that first 15 minutes, okay, I'm looking for possible liquidation back down into the 950s and maybe see like something like this to then rally up, okay? And so essentially, now when we look at the smaller time frames of the New York Open, the only way to really get this equities open, okay, is really to me more off of a guess. Now the formation does play out really good when I look at like a 1 hour 15.5 like intraday type of setup like this. I had already had the idea that I wanted 30,100, um, and so not taking the equities open trade here was kind of like probably for me personally, just based on the day before, okay? Because like I'll show you guys just really quickly the day before. There was no hesitation on that edge. The trade presented really well. They already had 7:30 news, and we were able to take the shorts immediately. Okay, we took the shorts right here with a 20 handle risk. First play down was able to partial, and then we were able to take another. Let me do this really quick. Make sure I didn't move anything here. Oh wow, that's from yesterday. So we were able to take shorts from here. Okay, so we took the first one at equities open like this, and like it started to fall, and we played it, and we were able to partial, and then we played the next one in here. Now, when you go to today's price, right out the gate, when you look at 5 and 1 minute, you have a 5 minute wick and the 1 minute mitigation play, or the upside down, what I call Empire State Building, if you're on the Discord, right? Now, when you're looking at a 1 minute, it's a little distorted now, obviously because we have a new daily open and stuff like that. But before equities open, all you could see on a 1 minute was this as well. Like after the very first minute, 8:30 to 8:31, this is all you could see. Okay. And so for me, if I'm already anticipating prices to rally up to like 30,000 and then 30,100, okay, because 30,000 was target and 30,100 was the next area, what they essentially did here was they created the M pattern, right at equities open. So they already had this, okay, and this is like a clear sign of money for us to go back and attack. Okay, now as you're in the moment, I'm gonna walk you guys through the. I had two scratches before I had the win, so I had two contracts on when I had the scratches for about 20 point losses. So it's like 40. So it's like 80. It was $80 a loss, and then I had two losses, so that was 160, and then we came back for a banger. Okay, so it's not like it's just like super clean today. Like this was a little bit rough, and I'm gonna explain those areas and what I was seeing too. Okay, so this is what they showed in that first minute of the open. They kind of delivered a really good price. Now, when you go back and you're looking at this, now it comes down to the very first 5 minute candle close. Now, all you can see here, this is the 5 minute candle that we're looking at. Okay, so if you're looking over here to the left, this is going to be the candle that we're focused on the left side. Okay, now as that candle pushes down fast, why that 5 minute inside the FEG becomes a wick is because it's creating that 1 minute specific pattern. Okay, And so for me, as I was looking at this and I was looking at the recording, right, we went under that New York, right, and we started to create that M pattern like I was talking about that you could see very briefly, okay? And then where I was starting to want to attack this was where I would like to personally attack it in a hindsight way is going to be on the right side of that candle after the second sign of strength. So something like this, okay? That's 1 to 2, excuse me, 1 to 3 long position here, okay? And then we had ideas, okay, to get to, if you're like looking up a little bit higher, like on the higher time frames, we wanted to get to this 30,000 level, okay? So 30,000 would have definitely delivered us over what we're looking for, either a 1 to 3 or 1 to 5 setup, okay? So we would have been able to definitely position into that. Now, personally, I did not take this buy, okay? And once I missed the buy, I actually came in here, like once they came through the this was 835 going into 840. Okay, they came up and they made a sign of weakness. So it was 840 going to 845. My kill zone is going to be the first 15 or last 15 minutes of the hour. And I like 5 minute transitional plays. So at one point on the 5 minute, this is all I could see. Okay. And so this is where I took my first attempt. I waited for my signal. I got the 5 minute sign of weakness. And then I was starting to identify where my target would be. Okay. Because like if this was upside down, this was like a buy position, this is exactly what I'd be doing. I'd be looking for the sign of strength, identifying my target, and then understanding what kind of risk reward I'd be participating in to get to that target. Okay. And so right here, I'm already essentially doing that in my head. I'm like, okay, we got the sign of weakness. I'm liking price back down to the New York low, okay, because of how aggressive and the imbalances and inefficiencies that they created on the way up through the 29,920s. Okay, and now what I'm essentially looking for on a 1 minute, right, is going to be the breakdown of 1 minute price. So as you can see here, 841, okay, 841 going into 842, and then 842 going into 843. It's filling a 1 minute FEG. I attempted this area for a short, okay. Now I have a specific system that I use, right? If you guys haven't had a chance, inside the description of these videos, there is the link to the free Discord and the premium Discord where I trade these concepts live. Okay. Um, let's see here. Okay, so 1 to 3, 1 to 5. I was looking at it from here. Okay, and so like when price came up in that 42 to 43. Okay, I was looking to strike it, and I did strike this here with about a 20 handle risk. Right, and as you can see here, after that next 5 minute candle, what they end up doing, right? They printed and blasted. Okay, but we didn't take a crazy loss on that. We took our typical loss. We had a 20 handle risk. Price came down right here, started to recover after that 5 minute close, and then 45 going into 50 was the explosive push. Okay, up through the 30,000 level and 30,100. That's a okay, right? Like I said, if you're coming into this and you're using 2 contracts on these futures plays, right? That's about $4 a point. So if you're risking 20 handles, a predefined risk, right? So 20 handles, 20 points, whatever you want to call them. You're looking at about $40 every 10 points. That's $80 risk per trade. Okay, so that's not a bad situation when you get a $2,000 draw per account. Okay, now what I would say is like I said, if this wasn't drawing on liquidity, and what I mean by that is like it was literally blasting through previous day high right at the zone, and then maybe thinking that it was going to like start to break down at 30,000. Um, I don't really have too much to say on this setup because even on the 1 minute side of it, like if I like after we get the 5 minute candle, the trap, and then it starts to create like that trap order block and then starts to rally. For me to buy this, the only way I would buy this is if I was positioning inside the 5 minute trap candles open, okay? And so like I like to frame up 5 minute plays. 1 to 3 would have been like this, and I would have been playing it like I wasn't already short, right? And I had already accepted risk. I would have been playing this at the 1 minute structure break, okay? Because price was starting to break structure and shift, and then inside that 5 minute zone to play up to the draw on the 30,100 level because we had already cleared our target of 30,000. Okay, so we were just taking that up to the 30,100 at that point for 1 to 3, 1 to 5. Okay, so that could have been good, but like I said, me personally, I had already lost in this situation right here. Completely fine. It's part of the game. Okay, now the trade that I wasn't as happy about because I ended up taking a loss here. Okay, which this was a loss. And then I ended up thinking that personally, as we got through the next, this was going to be 45 going into 9 a.m. Okay, so that candle blast up, obviously, so I ended up losing that trade. And then you look on the right screen here, we're at 50 going into 55, and then 55 going into 9, and then 9 going to 905. right? And it wasn't until, okay, we got all the way to the 9:30, and that's kind of like a time I like to see, like those 5 minute closes and see if people are kind of getting tired from holding like a New York long. Because think about it, the only way for those New York longs to get out to close a profit is for them to go in and manually either press sell or to have a limit set or trailed risk, okay, to get them out, which is going to be some kind of buy position. So, what I started noticing was the signals that I like to see at that 9:30. And so 9:35 going into 9:40, this is all you could see. Okay, so if you're looking at the right screen here really quickly, this would have been, nothing but bullishness at this point. There's really nothing to work with in this situation here. But 9:30 going to 9:35, and then the next candle closes. Okay, next candle closes bearish. Now, based on where it's at on a higher time frame and where it's delivering on like a 4 hour and a daily, right? Based on this 250 level, I already know by looking at a 4 hour. Okay, so I can actually show that here really quick. I already know that by looking at this 4 hour, where that 250 level is. That 250 level is in alignment with this daily, okay, this 4 hour supply candle order block. Okay, so I know that from looking when I look left on my higher time frame boards. Okay, now going back over here, I'm anticipating based on timing for price to start to break down the first 15 or last 15 minutes of the hour. Now, me personally, I started to attack this pretty aggressively after the 5 minute sign of weakness, to then play back down to, okay, I was wanting to play back down to this level here, which was the 30,120s. Okay, now we ended up ending the stream around 10:15 going into 10:20 because I was just sitting in this trade essentially break even and then waiting for the rollover to the area. But when I go back and let's look at the Discord here. And I just want to bring up the live trading chat because this one was live today with the team. Okay. And so we were looking for we were looking for that Empire State Building to form, right? Ended up taking the trade. We got the 5 minute sign of weakness up in those 20. I hate that number, 20 or 266s, but got that 5 minute sign of weakness, and then inside that second candle, I started attacking with a 20 handle risk. Okay, so entry was around those 30,247s, and then risk was 30,277s. Okay, it's just a little bit off because I don't know why, but it should be 277s, which is 20 points. It's just like 19 points there. Okay. Goal from this to get 3 times our risk would have been just here. Obviously, we would have seen that. We were anticipating when you look at like something like this, when you guys hear me say the Empire State Building, okay, that we're looking for price to get past like something like right here, and we were looking for price to actually start breaking down to the midpoint of the building, okay, if that makes sense. So like at that point, we're essentially right here on the building, and I'm telling them we want to go from here to here to here, because then if we extend down to get down to this part of the building, it's going to go fast, okay? And that's just something I know from just like watching the trade over and over lots of times, okay? Our 5R target was going to be in alignment with the drawdown and stops, okay? So that was in that 30,120, but I didn't want to stay on stream forever to find that, okay? And so we ended up taking that. That did end up working out, right? Ended up, like I said, ending the stream, and then we ended up staying break even. As you can see, the 247s break even would have been fine. And then price continues to roll over. And then we did see price on the runners finally deliver through that 30,120 level. Okay. And so I was able to partial some of that position out. I had 2 contracts, I think, or 4 when I at one point with this one. And then I was able to pull out 2 of those to secure a small win on the day because I did experience a scratch here, right, when I attempted to play that 30,000 level. And then I did attempt a scratch in another area, which I need to go over here very quickly. So the other area, so we played this area, and then I showed the area that we actually played, okay, and we played down and where we played to. And then the scratch area that I had was on the 1 minute. I can only see it on there for right now is we ended up delivering 30,100. Okay, like so after the loss in here, price 45 going into 50 explodes up. Okay, goes through my bigger time frame target on 4 hour, which was those 30,100s, and then inside the 1 minute. Okay, no, this is with no 5 minute sign of weakness. This was basically just 1 minute anticipation, jumping the gun situation. It's just part of it, right? It's just like real deal trading. Okay. But thought I seen an edge, okay, but I didn't have my signal, so that's something that I can write down and just like go back and like work on, okay. But thought I seen an edge in here, okay. got caught up a little bit and put my risk on the top of that high, was trying to attack back down, thought that maybe like this was just the up thrust after they had already like taken a good high, and lost this trade, right? So at this point, if I'm risking 80 a trade, I had lost $80 here. Now I'm down to 160 on the day, okay? And so for me, when I'm looking for sales, I usually only like to attempt twice, but based on the math of my account, and I had only been using half volume trades, I was willing to take um, the last setup in this area. Okay. Now we had secured the bag once we ended up delivering here. Okay. I talked about that a little bit. We ended up securing the bag, delivering here. And then on the Discord, I talked about, I think it was in a live trading chat. Let me look here really quick. Um, yes, I talked about buys on NQ and YM, okay? So on NQ, and I'll show you guys what made me want to buy this position here really quickly, okay? And so this was the position I ended up buying. Now you can see here, we had already delivered the sell side move, right? We were already out, profits had been taken. Now, as you can see, what made me want to take this position up to the upside and start to attack the high on day is if you look really quickly right here, we had that shift in price delivery on the 5. And like I said, that was a sign for me that if anyone that was short, they did cover that position, and price was starting to favor going back through that 30,200, 30,250, and possibly the high on day. Okay, and so we ended up getting that at the same time. You know, the RSV model works everywhere. Okay, so I was actually identifying that as well on YM to play back up into daily for over 5 times your risk to daily, 3 times your risk to here. So this is just like a whole different setup. I mostly trade NQs. And so I'll walk you guys through this one really quickly. Like I said, this was a really good trade, even after the shift in price delivery here, to then play up for 3 times your risk with pretty minimal drawdown on the trade. Okay, so I want to see if there's anything else we can talk about. Nah, okay, cool. So how did that trade actually play out? Okay, so we were out of the shorts from the moves from 250s down into the 150 zones, and I finally hit our areas in the 120s. Now let's go look at this over here, okay, before the price starts going crazy for the overnight. Okay, so when 5 minute price shifted in delivery, right, the CISD, right, shifting at the state of delivery, um, for me, okay, and I knew the liquidity had been hit in the areas for the shorts here, okay. For me, it becomes an attack as soon as this candle closed here at the right time, 11 a.m. going into 11:05 on the HOD from right here. So if you're looking on the left screen, okay, I'm usually taking 15-5 1 minute setups, okay? So drawing liquidity lets me know that shorts can start to cover and I can start to look for a timing situation back to the upside. Now, where did I end up taking the trade? I ended up waiting. This is what my eyes basically seen that made me get really confident and wanting to see it go up, okay? Because if you can notice these little subtle things, that's actually a break of structure, right? Price is making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and then price all of a sudden breaks higher than the most previous high, right? So that's just a little subtle thing. But for me, from playing NQ so much, okay, I know as soon as that candle um, breaks higher and there's a down candle, so 11:10 to 11:15, this candle prints, and there's 11:15 going into 11:20, and then 11:20 going into 11:25. I'm reading everything on the right side, and I'm watching those 1 minute mitigation plays to be able to frame up 3 times my risk or a nice draw on liquidity. There was a nice draw. If you can notice, these are double tops over here on the left. Okay, there's a nice draw on liquidity that would have been 3 times my risk if I enter and use this edge low. Okay, and so the sign of strength candle was 11:15, 11:20, and then I was wanting to attempt with half volume right off those 150s, okay, a 1 to 3 buy that could at least attack this liquidity. So it ended up being a 1 to 5 when you look at it like this, okay, because it went through and hit the 250s. And so my futures position at the end of the day, the one I showed here, okay, most of the move came off, okay, so like I think I put it actually in here. Most of the move that I took on this trade here, oh, that's our sell, sorry. Most of the move that I took on the buy position here, okay, most of the move I took came off when we hit the 250s. So we had 2 contracts. I had one contract come off, and then I went break even when it hit that 250s because I didn't know if we were going to get 30,300 the target zone or the HOD. I just didn't know at that point, and I wasn't going to be at the computer that long to find out, okay? And so 5R did deliver, and then when that area delivered, I came off of one contract remained, and then I left one contract literally sitting for the 270 at that point it was the 268s, okay. And so walked you guys through that 1 minute area when it comes to the New York Open. I do think the V-shaped recovery was very apparent. Like you could definitely see it like this. Okay, so it did really start to show itself. Just didn't feel as confident. It did have a solid target, but just didn't feel as confident about the price in this area at the Open. And then personally, sign of weakness, started to see possible to break down that was going to be attacking, like I said, down into here. So I was wanting to see like it break back down back into this area. Got chopped up here, one loss. Then seen my higher time frame area be delivered. Didn't have my 5 minute signal. Thought I seen the edge right here. Okay, tried to play this area with a 20 handle risk, playing back down to below here would have been 5R, 3R plus. Lost that trade down 160, and then took a banger trade, and then watched it clap the take profit area. Was up a little bit on the day. Ended up using some of those profits to bag this trade here to take most of my profits here, leave one contract, and then exit completely here. Okay, so that's the review for today. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk about that really was giving me anything? Uh, the only other thing is like Tesla. I've talked a lot about on the Discord. Okay, I don't want to really focus too much on the other two really quick. But I've talked about Tesla since we've defined that right side. Okay, since the what is this, the 30th? Right around the 30th of July. Okay, so we started to pop up out of this area. We created the fair value gap, and ever since we created that area, we've made higher highs and higher lows, and looks like we're going to deliver that 350 gap target. Okay, so Tesla's really been helping. Understanding where these assets are pushing definitely helps with the NQ trades. Okay. Anything else? Let me think about with oil here really quick. Um, let's go back and look at this really quick. Okay. Oil, we're still seeing. Let's see here. Oil is still seeing downside. Okay, like this big push, and they weren't able to get. And I'll update this tomorrow morning on the stream. But seeing this from this perspective, let me look at it without all this stuff too, all the Christmas trees. Seeing it from this perspective, okay, I'm still seeing prices kind of pushing down. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at that to be pushing down. If we do continue to push down, obviously we may get some more upside. Going into the overnight, I want to talk about that here really quick because we went over everything from New York that we can and the upside moves up in here. So going over the overnight, what I'm kind of anticipating and looking at is going to be this. Let's go ahead and move some of this stuff over to the end of. Okay, so we have last week's high, that was in here. That's going to be a key area. The trap order block area will be key going into tomorrow. Okay, previous day highs and lows obviously will change once I update the charts. So we'll talk more in the morning about what we're going to see to close out Friday. Me personally, I would like to see, like just from a naked chart perspective, this is a massive expansion. I'd like to see them roll back into the range a little bit. If buyers, when you think about from the actual start of the week, okay, because I know there's a lot going on here. Where's that market open really quick? Start of the week, let's look at these here really quick. So this is Monday right here. So start of the week, we're looking at this. Let's go ahead and take some of this stuff off. Okay, so start of the week is here. And so it really comes down to the individuals that are sitting here, the 29 sixes and the 29, I'd say 800s. And if individuals start to give up their order and surrender, and like buyers start to give up, maybe it sells back into, down into the range of 29 700s or something like that. But I wouldn't expect much of that with Tesla still looking like it wants to reach up to like 360s and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm not going to confuse you guys with anything. Like I said, I hope that going over that New York order and understanding like if you miss an order like that on 15.5 1 minute, most people are guessing that take that don't have a true structure of how to enter an order like that. I would say the other thing we've obviously noticed on the streams is that obviously that first 5 minute sign of weakness in a really bullish market obviously isn't going to always going to be okay. Look for the RSV to the downside, okay? Because you got to understand like there could be an upside target on 4 hour, daily, weekly, etc. that we need to meet before price can actually um, you know, print that pattern as well. There's a lot of times, that pattern is going to either continue, right, like continuation pattern or reversal or whatever it's going to do. in the first 15 or last 15 minutes of the hour. And one really key time, central time zone for NQ or futures in general is going to be 9:05 to 9:10. Okay. So we'll be on same time, same place tomorrow, taking the setups, taking some good 1 to 3s, taking some good 1 to 5s, maybe more. Okay. It just depends on what the market wants to present us with. But today was an overall good day, even though we did experience some scratches. So again, inside the description on this video is going to be access to the Discord. And I look forward to trading with you guys live. And then, guys, be on the lookout here by the close of this month. I am working on a couple things here for YouTube for people who want to join the premium group and kind of have an idea and a framework and a blueprint of how we're actually going to take trades. What time we're going to take the trades, how much you're going to be risking depending on what asset you're trading. And then, after you've gone through this, let's just say basic academy, you can come into that live room and really start to apply some of these concepts. But it doesn't hurt for you to go ahead and start applying live and learning on the go. Okay. Because that's actually how I learned, and that's how you will learn to really make this work a lot faster, right? By applying and failing faster. So appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next one.